Greetings. Welcome back to Terra Prime Live. It's been a while since we've been here, that's for sure. Um, if you've been a fan of ours for any length of time, at least from the beginning, we started this kind of thing um, way back when we started in 2012, and we were doing weekly shows like that for a couple of years, and obviously the changing stratosphere of everything kind of had this fall to the wayside, and um, with all the new stuff coming up, we've decided to bring it back because it was a popular thing, and it was an ability for us to kind of connect with everyone in Saberland and give some sort of voice and discussion forum for all of this kind of stuff. So that is the plan. In November, we plan to come up with new weekly shows and obviously new guests and all of that kind of thing. We will be definitely in touch in that way. So if you have suggestions, you can leave them down in the comments here. You can connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, any of those places if you have suggestions, and just let us know how it, what you think might be a good way to do it. Okay, so we're going to make sure everybody is muted here. All right, so for our today here, we have a good panel. Okay, we'll let one more in here and then I'll pause that there. Okay, so we this panel today will represent kind of where we're going with TPLA. Recently, I don't know if people have been following us, we have expanded through many different types of ways to reach people and teach. So we have our new student body. Before, we just had apprentices, people who were paired with knights, people who just kind of got in there, and we've actually opened that up. So now we have a student body, which is getting instruction from multiple people, going through the stuff at their own time. And we have a few students with us here today. They'll be representing the first ever training clan of TPLA, the Loth Wolves. So we'll be checking in with them. Of course, we have my co-founder, Matthew Vornock, our knight, Razor, Darth Razor, coming in from Germany, and all of that kind of thing. So we will be going in, we'll just kind of like recap kinds of things that have been happening here. So we'll just continue there. So anyway, I would say this. One of the things that we have always been involved with all this is trying to develop this as a sport, as a hobby, something that we can that can go out to multiple people, and we feel like we've been pretty successful in that regard. So we have that kind of going for us. With the pandemic, with online training kind of coming up into its, nobody's really poo-pooing our methods anymore. Asking if we can learn things online or not. The fact of the matter is we're going to have to try. So we've been doing this for quite some time. Like I said, we've recently created a new kind of training milieu. We had the people kind of just working on our own, learners in exile, and then our apprentices who are working one-on-one with us. But now with new technologies and new openness to all of this kind of thing, we've been able to to branch out. So now we've started in inducting students. We've also got the certifications for the ASL FFE rule set. So coaches and referees are going to be coming up through those ranks as well. All of these things are pretty good for, as we are moving forward to the future. So why don't I throw it out to, first of all, our co-founder here, Vornak. What do you think, from when we started this back in 2012, the landscape has changed quite a bit.
It has changed. This has grown honestly beyond what I thought it could be. Our initial goals just to develop and promote sword-based arts using our favorite analog sword from popular culture. We were a couple of sword geeks looking to share the thing that we were enthused about, and tapped into something. We knew that this was wildly popular, but the way it has grown, the opportunities that have opened up, the people. As I look around my Brady Bunch style Zoom screen here, is just a small representative sample of the people who've gotten involved in this community and are following us along this path. It's beyond what I thought we would achieve, and I remain honored that so many people have appreciated all of the hard work we have done, especially all of the hard work that you continue to do, Chad, to keep this organization focused and moving forward. And you are muted right now.
There you go. Yes. Zoom is very conscientious in reminding you of that fact. So, which is good, which is something that was over there. And I remember, we've started these on Google Hangouts. That was the only method that we had here. And those were shaky at times. So Zoom is pretty fun, and because we get lots more people in the show here. So as we are going forward, we can have many more guests and bigger panels and all kinds of things. So yeah, let's go with Razor. Razor, looking at things in TPLA, because you're coming from a student's perspective. You were one of our first ever students. Right, you were obviously then by default the longest lasting student. But yeah, so you've seen this entire process and kind of experienced it.
Do we have some award for endurance?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, for me, well, personally, because you obviously said it, it has been a great year so far. Being an apprentice was a great time, but this year, seeing my knighthood and going full mood instructor is something that has pushed my horizon, and I really like what we have built up here, and all the new faces that are around and are putting in so much hard work. That is something that I really cherish. You say I'm a bit of a last man standing here concerning the apprentices and some such, but we have great folks coming after us, and I am pretty sure that TPLA will profit from the way these guys and gals are walking, and I'm very proud. I really am, and we will definitely hear from them how this first TPLA clan experience feels from the inside. I really wish that sometimes I wish that I also could have been in a clan 7 years ago
Yeah.
with many people around. We had our structures too, but this is something that really bonds the people together, and I'm really excited to hear how they see where we have come and how they experience this new student level. So I'm
Yeah, absolutely.
really excited.
Yes, yes. And I think one thing that should go out to that is we've traditionally kept this one-on-one apprentices and stuff like that because we are all from martial backgrounds. And Gene Ching, who was on our symposium this year, put it very, very well in that the mystique over martial arts and a lot of this kind of stuff is, you know, excitement and action and all of that kind of stuff. And the training of martial arts is decidedly not that. It is not necessarily always exciting. It's going to be a grind. There are things you have to get used to discomfort. You have to get used to failure. You have to get used to a lot of things, right? All of these are challenges. So yes, we have extremely hard workers here and people who have chosen this path, which is the thing. I think we see now these days in the traditional martial arts and just martial arts in general, we have people who have now chosen to do them, whereas before they're almost thrust into a need for them historically. But or even been from families of martial artists and stuff like that. My own teacher said that to me. Said, it's like, you really love martial arts. I could take it or leave it. I need to be here, but I have chosen. So yeah, I commend everybody who has chosen this path. You, Razor, of course, are the shining example to a lot of them because you did start from ground zero, right? Basics, and then layering up all of that through all of that kind of thing. So I'm sure you have lots of advice for people in that way. Now we do have the we have the old structure too. So we have what we call enclaves and all of that. Are schools that have gone and kind of put their system is our system, and so they put themselves out there, and you can go there and learn that. So now with students and all of this kind of thing, and the training clans, when you go to an enclave or you go to one of our schools where there's either a knight or there's an apprentice who is running it, if it's a knight, then you can automatically become a student and join all of that. Now, up to now, we've got the one clan. It is mostly for the online experience of it, because in a school, you have a kind of natural community. You're there with other students, you're there with other people, and that energy helps people kind of learn, right? And that's what this experiment here with the clans is going. Is we want to foster this community, right? This kind of thing. Now, we often have we don't have too many people here from who running enclaves, but We also again have another, and we'll check in with you here in a moment. In France, we have a whole other kind of context or milieu going, as it were. So again, there's lots of ways that we can kind of get involved. So I don't know if we have somebody from Ithaca Sabres. I know Ben was not able to make it with us here, so
I'm here.
So yeah, so what? Check in with you guys, and what are the things going on at Ithaca Sabres these days?
Well, just trying to get back into the groove of things, since now, we started at the parks right outside, and then once it got cold, then we found this great place, which we held long ago last year with Damon, an event. So it's a big, huge space, so it's allowed us to social distance. So we're just trying to get back into the groove of things. Basically practicing kind of the same way that we were before. Basically starting out with forms and then going through exercises, accelerations, velocities, all kind of stuff. But yeah, I think generally this Monday, tomorrow, I think will be our third class inside the space, I think, or maybe fourth. So I think now finally we are getting into the groove of things, and then basically develop like a class plan to, so we can keep moving forward, nice and steady.
All right, there we go. Now, I'll check in here with Alex real quick, because there are, I know Europe and France is just locked down again, correct?
Yes, some kind of lockdown light, but yes, no sports activities are allowed anymore in Germany.
Right.
In groups, of course.
Right. So, okay. No update out there in France, Alex? Anything else to report? Perhaps not. Oop, there we go.
I don't understand all of your purpose, but my English is no better, and some people speak.
Oh, sure. No, we were just
too fast to me to understand.
Sure. Yeah, we were just asking about the lockdown there. If classes are on hold.
My classes?
Any of the lightsaber classes in France?
In France, there is 4 years.
Yes, but right now, because of COVID, everything.
COVID. Actually, there is a confinement and no sport, nothing. Since last week.
Okay, from last week. Okay.
Yes, and for during all the November month.
Yes. Okay. So all through November.
Yes, that's it.
Well, yes, and there are those that say that we might.
We have just a right to go to job, and after to back home. That's it.
Yep. Yes, I know some. We are sort of open at this point, but
and
going up, so we're hoping there. Now, just so everybody knows, I've taken this certification. I know a bunch of our instructors have taken a COVID certification that has been offered by the Australian health department. And so if you end up going to one of our classes in person or something like that, if you're in a state or in a place that you can do that, we are kind of going by those standards. So, and I know Australia just celebrated at least a few weeks of no cases. So there you go. Okay. So, yeah.
I stopped all my classes. I try to make some classes on live on Facebook, but the result is not here. I think it's not really a good tool to make a correct lesson.
Well,
do you understand?
Yes, we understand.
All my pupils don't love this media, this tool. It's not good to be better in the lightsaber sport.
Okay.
So I make nothing.
Yes.
Just solo in my home.
Yes. Well, luckily for all of you out in Saberland, I disagree. So I will continue to make things. Now, that's a good point. We've done a couple of video. I did at least one video on this about successful online learning, what you can expect to learn from online learning and what you should not expect from online learning. Because there's a good amount that you can get done through online learning. And of course, we'll check in with Razor, who's obviously a perfect example of this, but also we want to check in with our students who are now in this kind of virtual classroom, which it goes beyond just having doing the same class online as you do live and all of that, because it's true. The online environment is much different than the in-person environment. And even with regular learning, because I think people who are now doing homeschooling with their kids and they're doing online classes with their various school districts are finding that there is not a 1-to-1 ratio between in-person learning and remote learning. There is an entirely different kind of there are entirely different requirements and processes that kind of go on. However, if you know what these processes are, you know how to navigate them, they can be very good. Now, the one thing that is missing from all of online training is the actual interaction with a live person. Now, whether or not that's with a live teacher who's telling you do this, do that, and the other, or whether it's actually sparring and going in and fighting, right? You can't really replicate that by yourself. You can't replicate the environment of having an uncooperative opponent, while you're trying to do something, them actively trying to do it to you and trying to stop you from doing it to them. You can't really, there's no substitute for that. And I've always said this, it's the basic adage is, if you want to learn to fight, you must fight. Now, that being said, the fighting is actually the easiest part. It's the training that is really the hard part, right? It's what you do outside of the fight. A fight will last 3-4 minutes maybe, right? Like in real life or whatever. unless of course you're in the Army, and then it's not really a fight. It's more like a battle where you have a whole different set of variables and all that kind of thing. But they're very, very short, right? Even if you're in MMA and all of that kind of thing, what you do on the mat out of the ring is going to determine how well you do in the ring in various forms. Now, we have always depended on coaches and teachers and stuff like that to be there with us, to be definitely, to be, in person with us. And so there's a lot of the teaching methods that, whether or not they know this or not, they rely on a kind of live person kind of action. Now, this stuff gets cut off when we're dealing with the online things. Like I said, one of the things that now we're doing here is we're going to try to replicate as best we can specific things from these, from the live experience. And one of this, as far as live persons goes, is that sense of community, right? So we have a training clan. These people have all come in together, and we are training them together. So why don't we just open it up to any of our new students right now? If you want to just kind of chime in with who you are, where you're practicing, that kind of thing. And then I'll throw it out to everybody, the same kind of question. What's your experience been? It was only been a couple of months, but some of you are also from regular martial arts backgrounds, and so you can kind of compare and contrast, what are the strengths, what are the drawbacks to this whole thing. Anybody can chime in here. Go ahead, Jeff. Can you unmute it?
Personally, for me, my name is Eric Hinkle. I'm out of Riverside, California. I believe I came in. I found TPLA just by accident. I got a lightsaber from Ultra Sabers, and just on YouTube, looking at videos, and just happened to stumble upon it. Watched a couple of videos. I believe I contacted Master Anonymous directly, got some information about the forum, got on the forum, and then just kind of been going from there. Doing through the initiates trials, got to do that. That was actually a pretty cool experience for myself. Can't speak for anybody else, but that was pretty cool. Never been in a traditional martial art per se. I've never gotten to actually go to a dojo or train underneath somebody directly, outside of just meeting people, talking here and there, and getting to learn a little bit about what they know, outside of the Marine Corps and learning the Marine Corps martial art program. The only drawback to the online experience that I've experienced so far is the one-on-one interaction, the in-person interaction with another person, getting to have that live feedback, versus reading a comment, because comments can be misconstrued all types of different ways, because you're not really hearing the dialect of the person giving it.
Yeah, I'll add to some of that, and offer some of my own anecdotal observations. I say they're anecdotal because they're subjective. First, in the big picture sense, because me and Razor had a brief email conversation about some feedback. All things considered, when you look at the online learning process, this is about as good as it can get. I mean, there's different ways you can do it. But, you can make a rough analogy with collegiate learning online. And, there are different ways they do it. Sometimes they kind of force a classroom environment in the forums. Sometimes it's less synchronic than that. There's some inherent inadequacies to it no matter what you do, until we're all in holodeck somewhere and we can do this that way. This is what we're going to get. That being said, I mean, I have some subjective observations about what my experience has been, but I'm aware enough to know that those observations aren't objective, because I'm thinking, myself and not for everybody. And the truth is, I really think this has to play out over time before we get enough consistent feedback systemically to see how this is going to work. I tend to be a big picture guy to a fault. And so when I decided to, invest in TPLA, I did so for a number of reasons. One, it was more my flavor of lightsaber than other things I had done, because it does have a sort of way of the lightsaber traditional ambiance to it, which is my preference. Two, I liked the grassroots approach. The bar to entry, financially is far lower, making it much more accessible for so many. And three, I liked its modular approach, because when I came into TPLA, I wasn't just thinking about me. I already have students of my own. I wanted to spread the system. So I'm actually looking forward to the future. I'm taking this whole COVID thing as a law in the action to better finalize my direction going forward for when we come out of this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the one thing I would say to add to what Eric was saying, because he made a few good points about, direct feedback. Most human communication is nonverbal. Electronic communication is always problematic. It would be, I think, a good idea either with our particular mentors or as a clan, if we try to schedule some regular feedback, like this, since we do have the technology. I don't know how viable that is still once a week, once a month, or how we would do that, but just a thought. The other thing is, and again, this is completely subjective, and I don't know if I know a better way to do it. So don't take this as too much of a critique. It just subjectively to me, it feels like there's extra gates that don't necessarily have to be there as far as time gates, whereas you could just have the one-time gate and go from there. Admittedly, that's more of a prescriptive by student approach. So I don't know if that's the best way either for what you're trying to do. That's just an anecdotal observation.
Yeah. So that's, one of the things, we'll take things one at a time here. The communication issue. Yes, it's true. We don't have one-on-one communication, all that kind of stuff. I can't help but thinking, though, back to all of my teachers and how poorly I pretty much communicated with all of them, because many of them didn't even speak English, So there is a lot of I think that one thing that while the communication is a challenge, and we're getting this, all that kind of stuff going together, is the fact of the matter is that I guess maybe now it feels more like you're on your own, right? Now, you're generally often always on your own, even if you're doing this by yourself, because it's your progress. Nobody can make you walk through the door, right? You have to take it to where you can. That's why I don't really say that there are poor martial arts or bad martial arts. It's really where you take it. I mean, any systemized way of that can add some sort of value. It has something there. And even if something doesn't have an inherent value, we as human beings tend to give value to things that may not otherwise be intended. So it's not like that's a thing. It's really what you put into whatever you're doing. And that's one of the things that's going here. Now, with students, one thing that we should put out there for people who are maybe interested in going through it is that does give you access to the teachers, to more of our teaching staff and all of that kind of thing. We're going to be having, I know we have to kind of figure out exactly the kind of structures and everything like that, because we have different people in different areas, right? As far as what we can do as offering. I know you can always contact us and ask for private consultations. We do all kinds of stuff online, all kinds of stuff. And now that we have the student bodies, these are the people that we will kind of devote that kind of time to. Now the students do, they're not, it's not as rigid as apprentices. Apprentices are kind of like staff members in training, because they are our representatives. So we do require stuff of that. Students are just learning. So there's that. But it does give you the same type of access to people and all of that we do, or that apprentices do. Now, yeah. So, but let's talk about the clan structure here a little bit. Does anybody want to kind of chime in on, have any experience or any thoughts about how that's kind of going, and how you're enjoying that thus far, knowing that this is all very preliminary stuff?
All right, so this is Roberto Andino, and I'm over at Fort Walton Beach, Florida. So with the clan structure, something that I've noticed is yeah, there are, I wouldn't say there's better or worse between classes in a group setting and classes in an online environment. It's just different. Therefore, those differences have to be honored. And one of the differences is that you get that automatic sense of community because everybody's at the same place together at the same time. When you're in a live class at a group setting, that's something that then has to be intentionally created into the online class, because it's very easy to coast into isolating yourself, and then very easy to kind of not log in that week and the following, and all of a sudden you're not part of the group. But when you create that clan setting, when you create stuff like the clan challenges that we did, where everybody has to work together, we created that challenge where everybody had to film themselves doing the do back rider for a certain amount of minutes, and then be able to stitch it together and make a clan project to present to the instructors. And that's something that we're given the goal by the instructors, and then we're left to our own interaction between the other students to figure out how we're going to make it. That creates that cohesive sense of, this is our group, this is our clan, this is our little lightsaber structure in which we're all part of the same group and we're working together towards a goal. I thought it was a fantastic way to create those interactions, create that cohesiveness in the group, and create those relationships that then help people want to keep showing back. Because I'm not only showing up to have a date with my glowing screen, I'm showing up to see Becky, to see Eric, to see Jeff online performing with us. And I can't wait to see them next week, to see how they've been working on their honor sash, how they've been targeting their cho a little bit straighter. And you get to know people and feel like part of that group, even if you're not in the same place with them.
Yeah. Then I'm glad that's what's going. I think Razor deserves a lot of credit for this, because he kind of spearheaded the idea of getting those people together and rallying you all. Now, why don't we throw it over to him, since the student body is very largely under you, and you are intimately qualified to give specific advice. What advice do you have, not only just for this group here and for our students watching and all of that, but for anybody that's wanting to learn any of this from online or whatever?
Advice. What I can say is, the students that are working on Chicho Form 1 now are a very disciplined bunch. And that's without discipline, you just Roberto said it, you fade over time. And I think that this interest in not only what your own progress is, but the interest in, oh, let's have a look at another student. How is he doing? How is he tackling that? Exchanging about the comments given from the instructors. I got that comment. Oh, you got the same comment too. I have to work on the same thing. This is the kind of experience where relationships build up, and in that moment when you build up relationships, this is something that glues the whole thing together. So yeah, it's amazing to see that many people are willing to put time into that, and we can hear from Taylor here on the panel. He has he was a long time solo learner outside of the clan, and now he's inside the clan. So I think he can tell us some of the obvious pros and cons he sees in that structure. So I would love to hear from him. And yeah, it's discipline, and it's yeah. Let's hear from Taylor. I would love to hear his assessment on that.
Why don't we go, Taylor? Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for adding me to the clan too. That was pretty cool. But some of the advantages of the clan structure, particular, I think, are advantages that the digital form has over in person, which might sound sort of odd, but like, you know, Darth Razor, you mentioned that we sort of build a camaraderie by looking at, you know, watching each other's forms and being like, oh, they're working on this, they're working on that. For me, you know, if I'm, you know, when I was at X point in the accelerations and, you know, was waiting to get feedback, I would go and look at everyone else's form and be like, oh, you know, such and such a person was getting feedback on doing this thing. I might be doing this thing wrong. Let me go work on that and sort of avoid having to be corrected for it later. That's something that's more difficult to get in person, I think, because I don't know, anytime in my limited in-person martial arts experience, I'm not really watching anyone else in the class when I'm working on my form. So there's that. I think that's, for me, the biggest advantage of the clan structure specifically. Another advantage of the digital, particularly, I guess not specific to the clan, would be that, you know, we've got a recorded video of someone doing the forms that we're learning. And as we're all learning by like looking at the video and trying to do what Dark Anonymous is doing. And a lot of the feedback we get is someone just telling us how to look at it the right way. Like, hey, did you notice his wrist is doing this at, you know, 23 seconds? Oh, okay. So I can constantly go back to that and check it over and over. So I really appreciated that. But yeah, I think those are the big advantages of clan and digital specifically.
Yeah, it's good to hear about the advantages of digital, because that is true. We have record, right? What we do, you know, is there, and we can kind of go back of it. I'll say this too. Something that's different from my training, from my bringing up, and Matt can probably chime in on that one as well, is that sometimes it's very difficult to judge your progress. This is why people came up with belt systems and ranking and all this other stuff, to give people these little touchstones to show, here you're making progress, because a lot of times it doesn't feel like you're making progress. With the online stuff, one thing that you can very easily do to make you to allow yourself to see that you've made this progress is you go back and you look at your old videos, right? You go, okay, here's where I was then, and this is what I was doing, and here's where I am now, you know, and let's look at the difference. And I really, really do encourage everybody to do that. This is why we encourage people to submit videos a lot, all the time, so that you have a record of your own training. And no matter what you do with that training, whether you just want to train for health and peace of mind and that kind of thing as a hobby, if you want to be a competitor, you want to compete in the new sports that are coming up now, you can apply that to any way you want to go, really. But if you have these videos, these are like a training log, which is in many ways much less forgiving than a training log, because it's just evidence of, you know, oh, look what I was doing. You know.
Yeah, I'll add to that, because it also reminded me of something else I've really gotten out of this process. One, video is invaluable. I've videoed myself in the past in other arts I've studied. It is an invaluable teacher, a humbling and embarrassing teacher, depending on what you're doing. That's one of the real values of having a mirror and a dojo and all that kind of stuff. But the other thing that TPLA has really kind of opened my eyes on myself as both a student and a teacher is making better use of this format. Certainly, like everybody else over the years, I've used videos as reference material, but I never really thought of myself participating in it. And so it's going to be a while before I get up to the production values Chad's videos sometimes show. But, you know, as a format for teaching, I'm really getting, you know, more turned on to it and learning. Just going through the process of recording myself for the accelerations and stuff like that has been, a secondary teacher to me, figuring out angles and lighting and those kinds of things and sound and those kinds of things I wouldn't have otherwise thought of or considered, you know, doing myself. So that's been really cool. But yeah, I agree with you. Video is invaluable. Going into a fight, I look at the videos of my competitors, depending on what I'm doing. Video is invaluable.
Yeah, it's funny. On an aside, one of my friends trains fighters, and they're of the YouTube age, right? So they're constantly, you know, posting videos of them, and he keeps trying to tell him, it's like, would you stop posting videos of you sparring? You know?
Yeah. You're giving intel to the other guy. Yeah.
It's just like, for crying out loud, stop posting those videos, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, so video is a good thing to use and a good teacher, regardless, you know, whether or not you are in a class or online. I mean, my father, who is the Michigan tennis coach for a long time, he actually, to his credit, started videotaping his players.
It's cool.
Way back in the 80s, and we had a Betamax machine. It was gigantic. You know, you kind of strapped it on you like a Ghostbuster pack. Separate video camera and everything like that. But there he was, right? And then he would just analyze it, just frame by frame, and say, here, there's, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I've always known that that's a really, really powerful coaching tool. And you know, yeah, we like we like the traditional ways, right? I'll say that, like Matthew and we're from traditional martial arts. We like historical kind of stuff. We like that kind of stuff. But we also do acknowledge that progress occurs, and that you know, by the very fact of increasing human knowledge in pedagogy, in psychology, in learning, and all of that kind of thing, you have to, traditional systems are not, you know, they're interesting, right? But if they exist today, and this is what I've always been saying, if they do exist today, they're, even if they're traditional, they're not, they're modern, right? They've obviously taken things and put them into their own language and all of that, but they are the product of all of this experience that has happened through all of this time, right? In training experience. And this is one of those things that I'm talking about when I'm saying that the training part is the difficult part, right? In Chinese martial arts, we have a saying, 花拳新腿, which is flowery fists and embroidered leg, and it's a derogatory statement towards somebody's martial arts, saying that they have very pretty form, it looks really nice, but it's not good for anything. And we've all heard this complaint, lots of people say, you know, that kind of thing. But the fact of the matter is, and this is something that my teacher just said, was that it takes maybe, you know, like if you come to me, I could get you competent to defend yourself within a few months, right? You could defend yourself. I'm not saying you're going to be a champion fighter or, you know, anything like that, but I could get you up to speed, you know, in about that time, right? But to do the flowery fist, right, takes lifetimes of energy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right? The skills take so much longer to develop with the acrobatics, with the flashy stuff, you know. And one of the values that I find with that stuff is the fact that it is hard, right? That I'm just going to apply myself to try to get my body to do this, which it doesn't want to do, and it seems like all of physics is against it doing that, right? Therefore, I will try to get it to go. It's almost like it's like and I think if people are into martial arts, YouTube, Ramsey Dewey mentioned this too, the cardio myth, right? And this was explained to me by a boxing coach here at U of M a while ago, a long time ago, that the running for a long time, you know, like in Rocky where he's chasing the car and everything like that, it's not to build up your cardio. It's to give you the experience of pushing through the wall, right? Of getting up right to the edge of your exhaustion and just being able to push more and more and more and more and more. Because in a fight, you get to that state pretty quick, you know, where you can completely exhaust yourself.
3 minutes is an extraordinarily long time in a fight.
Oh my God, yes.
3 minutes is forever.
Yes, 3 minutes is an eternity.
60 seconds can be forever.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's fighting is an unbelievably difficult activity. So there's that. So and one of those things, training is there to help accentuate those things, right? It's to give you this edge, because when you're in the fight, you don't really have control over these things, right? You know, who gasses first loses. Yes, that's true. If you run out of breath, guess what? You're done, right? So what you have to do is you have to train yourself not to lose your breath. Now, whether that's working on cardio or working on breathing, but almost always, like for wrestlers and stuff like that, it's basically learning how to get held, being put into locks so that you can figure out where that choke, how to defeat that choke by positioning yourself so you can get a little bit of air, being able to relax. Because if you panic at any of those things, that's what's going to use up your oxygen, you know, a lot. But in the training, when you're doing these forms and these sets and these drills and all of this other stuff, right? It's all in service of that. It may not look like that, right? How many times do you do this motion in a fight? Just like this. Probably, nah. You do it within other motions, sure, right? But you never just sit there and do this, right? Yet you see people doing curls all the time, and nobody complains, oh, those aren't any good for fighting. So abstraction, right? There's a sports-specific myth. There was a big fad of doing sports-specific training where you kind of replicate the movement in training. And to a certain extent that can work, but just like putting the weights on the bats, right? And in Major League Baseball, right? That effect of having the weight and being able to hit harder with that is temporary, right? It's basically you get your body used to swinging one weight and then you quickly switch it. So it takes a moment for it to adjust, but it will adjust. The cartoon thing of people getting super strength and like crushing things is kind of ridiculous because you don't grab a glass with your whole force, right? And no matter how strong you are, the amount of pressure that you put on a glass to drink it is probably pretty much the same. But there's that. So that's the thing. Training is the hard part. So while, and this is my message to all of the students here and in our clans and stuff like that, is to really focus on that, right? Focus on your abilities, right? And understand it's, you train 10,000 to use one, right? So you practice everything in the kitchen sink, right? You don't have to worry about becoming a master of all trades or, jack of all trades, master of none, right? What you want to do is you want to train for every event, right? And the best way to do that, we have found, is going very, very basic, using basic body mechanics, hip hinges, that kind of stuff. So we'll be putting out some videos on working out with sabering. And they're going to be very, very simple. Anybody will be able to do them. Some of them will use your saber, some of them won't. Some of them will have weights, some of them won't. Body weight exercise is a wonderful, wonderful thing. I often would start people when I was a personal trainer, I would start people out on body weight exercises before going to resistance exercises, because just teaching the body how to use its own mass and how to move its own mass around gives you benefits like through the roof, in all areas, right? Like if you improve your hip hinge, which is your deadlift, your jump, your all of that kind of thing, everything that you do will improve, right? I guarantee it. If you don't believe me, try it. Do some deadlifts for 6 months and come back to me and tell me that you're not better off, right? Unless you injure yourself. Take it slow and be with a professional if you don't know what you're doing. But yes. Anyway, so that's the thing. Training is really where it's at. I hope that we can get, this thing we will be having a new training clan coming in, because we're going to be doing another enrollment period for our European followers. So anybody on the continent, since we have varying time schedules, and this, of course, we were allowed to get Razor in. Alex got to join us for a little bit over there in Europe, but sometimes we get a little late. So anyway, now going forward, what are we going to do here? We are going to be doing all the other things. We're going to be talking about different aspects of sabering. We're going to be talking about different people, different groups, different activities, different events. Of course, there'll be Star Wars talk. There'll be science fiction talk. There'll be all kinds of martial arts talk, right? And we'll have guests and all that kind of thing. So please do, if you have suggestions, connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. Put some comments down here for any suggestions. And we will we will continue on forward. So from all of us here at TPLA, we will take the evening. We'll close the evening for tonight. Thank you to all of our students for joining us. It was good to hear from you. Thank you to Razor and Vornok for joining us as well. We thank all of you for tuning in. We hope to see you again soon. So until then, we'll say patience, practice, perseverance. Happy sabering.
Thank you.
Thanks for sabering, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night, everybody.